Ever wondered why people go on killing sprees?
Are you interested in exploring the paranormal?
Baffled by stories of previous lives?
Well, so are we.
In each episode, we'll be discussing the weird and wonderful stories of some truly confusing phenomenons and some horrific true crime cases.
Find us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, and join us every Tuesday wherever you listen to your podcasts.
And be prepared to be totally and utterly perplexed.
Thumbtack presents the ins and outs of caring for your home. Out. Procrastination, putting it off, kicking the can down the road. In. Plans and guides that make it easy to get home projects done. Out. Carpet in the bathroom? Like why? In. Knowing what to do, when to do it, and who to hire. Start caring for your home with confidence. Download Thumbtack today.
If you're a parent or share a fridge with someone, Instacart is about to make grocery shopping so much easier. Because with family carts, you can share a cart with your partner and each add the items you want. Since between the two of you, odds are you'll both remember everything you need. And this way, you'll never have to eat milkless cereal again. So minimize the stress of the weekly shop with family carts. Download the Instacart app and get delivery in as fast as 30 minutes. Plus, enjoy $0 delivery fees on your first 3 orders. Service fees apply for 3 orders in 14 days. Excludes restaurants.
A Dangerous Play. I'm Jason Horton.
I'm Rebecca Lieb.
And this is Ghost Town.
In January 1955, a retired Navy physician and current San Francisco biologist named Albert R. Behnke Jr. approached Lou Spadilla, the general manager of the San Francisco 49ers, not as a fan, which he was, but as a scientist. He asked the manager one simple question: if any of his players would like to participate in a science experiment at an atomic research lab. Behnke was not only an experimental scientist, but like I said, a huge fan of football, and calmly explained to Spadilla that it wouldn't take much of their time. He simply wanted to put some radioactive material inside of the athletes, and then examine them. The result, while good-intentioned, would, as you might imagine, be an epic scientific failure, or maybe mystery, one so potentially dangerous and ridiculous that here we are doing a whole episode about it. Today, the proposed radioactive experiments of Albert R. Behnke on the famed San Francisco 49ers. The 49ers at this time were a relatively new team and had just finished their 5th season in the NFL. And though they were, by all accounts, not a winning team, they did bring some magic to the game and were, according to many, a team to watch. Probably most noteworthy, the 49ers' Joe Perry had just been named the league's first black MVP. The team felt good and wanted to be seen and had a lot of talent. Perry, Hugh the King McElhenney, John Henry Johnson, and Y.A. Tittle would all eventually be inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. So the team, while again not impressing many with their wins, knew they had something special. Behnke pitched Spadilla the importance of the experiment and how the information might actually help the team or give them more insight into physiologically how these men worked. Despite the use of the word radioactivity, that idea sounded good to pretty much everyone, and within a couple of weeks, Behnke had arranged for the 49ers to be subjects in a, quote, nuclear medicine experiment, which is what one of Behnke's colleagues at UC Berkeley would later write about the whole process. Behnke himself was fairly well known, having made headlines a couple years earlier when he helmed another bizarre, and should I add, failed experiment he conducted, feeding sailors in the Pacific, quote, large quantities of garlic in order to ward off mosquitoes. But beyond this, Behnke was kind of a legend, known as the, quote, modern-day father of human body composition for his work developing a method of measuring body density, in which he analyzed the physiques of pro football players, yes, among other people. Benke's work in that respect was incredibly successful. This experiment would be another story. It would all go down at the U.S. Naval Radiological Defense Laboratory, a specialized, quote, atomic defense outfit at a naval shipyard in San Francisco from 1946 to 1969. While the 49ers were the most high-profile guinea pigs in the whole racket, they were not alone. For decades, participating scientists exposed over 1,000 people to concerning doses of radiation at the lab. Benke had another curiosity when it pertained to the experiment. He wanted to know which 49er would most likely survive a nuclear attack. Yes, you heard me right. As a U.S. Department of Energy researcher summarized years later, Benke's research also concerned a kind of post-nuclear Thunderdome, a dystopic scenario, his interest revolving around assessing, quote, athletes and the physically fit in order to determine probable survival in the case of nuclear war. It was very mid-century of him, of course, very Cold War America, but also he had personal interests in this subject. Benke loved football, sports, and was a natural muscular athlete himself, playing football at his alma mater, Whittier College in California. From there, he went to Harvard to study applied physiology and then to the Navy, exploring his lifelong interest in deep-sea diving, where he covered medical watch on USS Ortolian, a submarine rescue ship, and performed hard hat dives, which, if you don't know exactly what that means, it's where divers get into that huge steel diving suit that looks more like a space suit than something you'd wield in the depths of the ocean. This is all to say that he was a man of athleticism, of survival, of extremes, and continued to be that way decades after his retirement from the Navy, when he became a professor of preventative medicine at the University of California and director of the Institute of Applied Biology at the Presbyterian Medical Center, San Francisco. After his post at the Presbyterian Medical Center, his interest in survival ramped up quite a bit when the center sent him to study severe malnourishment in post-war Germany. This experience profoundly affected Benke, who would study human physiology and how to maintain health and vitality under extreme circumstances for the rest of his life. As a note, Benke was obsessed with survival both in his professional life and his personal life. Before seatbelts were a thing, Benke lined the back of his family car with styrofoam blocks covered in fabric, providing some protection in case, or what he thought was an inevitable, collision. Benke became affiliated with the Navy's dedicated Atomic Research Lab in 1953, acting as the lab's top physician and, quote, radiological medical director. There, Benke continued researching physiology, but with a new toy, nuclear medicine. More after.
Instacart is on a mission to have you not leave the couch this basketball season. Because between the pre-game rituals and the post-game interviews, it can be difficult to find time for everything else. So let Instacart take care of your game day snacks or weekly restocks and get delivery in as fast as 30 minutes. Because we hear it's bad luck to be hungry on game day. So download the Instacart app today and enjoy $0 delivery fees on your first 3 orders. Service fees apply for 3 orders in 14 days, excludes restaurants.
Thumbtack presents the ins and outs of caring for your home. Out. Uncertainty. Self-doubt. Stressing about not knowing where to start. In. Plans and guides that make it easy to get home projects done. Out. Word art. Sorry, live, laugh, lovers. In. Knowing what to do, when to do it, and who to hire. Start caring for your home with confidence. Download Thumbtack today.
This
Thumbtack presents the ins and outs of caring for your home. Out. Indecision. Overthinking. Second-guessing every choice you make. In. Plans and guides that make it easy to get home projects done. Out. Beige on beige on beige. In. Knowing what to do, when to do it, and who to hire. Start caring for your home with confidence. Download Thumbtack today.
break.
Hi, hello, how are you?
Hello. How's it going out there?
We're checking in with you.
This is what it is. This is what we say it is, and that is what it is.
And we always, it's like, oh, we hope this email finds you well. Well, we hope this check-in finds you well.
Absolutely. And we mean it, unlike most emails.
Yeah, I never want the email to find me.
No, at all. I've already lost when the email
Yeah.
finds me.
Yeah, I'm long gone. Where were you when I needed you, email?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we want to find our government. Well, of course,
Absolutely.
Ghost Town government. Those mayors, we need you in tip-top shape, mentally and physically. Mostly just physically, because you know what I mean. Like, we're in LA, baby.
Yeah.
It's all
Who's
about the
mentally
appearance.
okay? Also,
Yeah,
we don't have
I
any
mean, there's
metric to go
no-
by.
yeah. So we'll just take physically. Mentally is just a bonus. Oh, these mayors did a little experimentation too.
Oh, did they? Oh,
Had to
did
check her
they?
past.
Wow.
Yep. This first mayor, pretty recently actually,
Wow.
pretty scandalous,
Tell me about it.
made a radioactive pickleball.
Whoa.
Couldn't even tell you what one looks like. I mean, I'm sure it looks like a little ball, but
Yeah. I mean, it's not the paddle or the court. It's just the ball. So it's just like a rubber ball that you want to stay away from.
people can't stay away from it. That's what
Okay.
people are like, oh, hey, you want to play some pickleball? It's like, yeah, P.S. The ball is radioactive. They're like, listen, if we have the court open, we're using it. We don't care. We'll die soon.
Hard to get those courts. That's true.
That's what I've heard about. It's all I know about it is it's hard to get courts. Well, that's Ashley Matson.
Hello.
This mayor messed around with a radioactive bocce ball.
Heavier.
Gotcha, getcha bocce. So that's a round wood ball that you hit with like a club, right?
No, bocce ball. You handle it with your hand, so that's very dangerous.
You throw it against another ball.
Yes.
Right, got it. This is some real white people stuff.
We're getting to the weeds here.
The fact that you knew that, right? You were like, that is not bocce.
Well, I often mistake it for croquet, which I think is what you're thinking of. Yeah.
That's probably
We're
what I was
whites.
thinking
We're
of,
whites. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, well, Cat Joselle's messing around with that.
Hello.
Don't know why.
Very, very
Where
dangerous.
are you getting all the plutonium?
I wouldn't suggest
Where are you
it.
getting it?
I'm not a doctor, but I think that's bad.
This mayor goes a little old school, classic, messing around with the nuclear pinball. Right? A pinball machine. Don't know how you got I don't know where you're getting the materials to make these balls nuclear. How are you getting it inside the pinball machine? Like a Rolling Stones pinball machine, man.
I was thinking more like a Ghostbusters or maybe a sexier one too, like Tales from the Crypt.
Video Vixen. Yeah. Woman on motorcycle. That is still could be Ghostbusters and that could be Rolling Stones. You
Absolutely.
Don't know. They put a hot girl on a motorcycle in any pinball machine.
I mean, honestly, the least sexy one is the Playboy one. You
They're
after
just,
all of
there in a
this.
chair. They're just like, I don't know, I'm in a desk chair. Leave me alone. Well, messing around with the nuclear pinball would be Kelly Meehan.
Hello.
This mayor also is pretty classic. Messing around with a bowling ball, a nuclear bowling ball, which probably came nuclear. I don't know what they used to make.
You picked a cool color and you sealed your fate.
Yeah, you're like, this is a weird color. Why is it glowing? It sounds good to me.
Like,
no, it's
cool.
nuclear. It already had asbestos in it, probably.
Everything stinks. Everything stinks and it glows in there. Everything's weird.
And you're just sticking your fingies in there?
You don't know where they stop. They never stop. You don't know how far those fingy holes go.
I know you like the word fingies.
I do.
It's like that's a you-coded word.
Truly.
Couldn't help myself. Well, messing around with those fingy holes would be Casey Weber.
Hello.
This mayor's messing around with a classic. If you got bullied, you got hit in the head with one of these, make it nuclear, it's going to get a lot worse for you. A red rubber dodgeball. Remember those?
Oh, yeah.
And hitting directly in the head with one of those?
They
just
were
me?
more painful if they were less deflated, which is the weird part.
Well, messing around with those nuclear dodgeballs would be Matthew Clemens LeRae.
Hello. This
mayor gets pretty aggressive with their nuclear ball usage. I don't know if you've ever been on I don't know what you call it, the paintball field, but those things hurt. They don't
Yeah.
feel good. Why? Stop shooting me. Why is it my gun keeps jamming? Please stop shooting me. For the one bachelor party I went to in Canada,
Oh,
when they were
God.
all just shooting me and it's cold.
Don't you have like
And
bales of hay? Aren't there things to hide behind? It's like an
Yeah,
obstacle
but they
course.
fight get me. And then the gun keeps jamming and then I keep getting hit with these paintballs. They hurt. Stop shooting me.
Hmm.
Leave me alone.
Leave me in peace.
Not
in
even
this
close.
field.
I'm not even close with the people here. Why am I even here? Well, making a nuclear paintball, very forward thinking, would be Marissa Rothermel.
Hello.
Do you remember those? I don't know if they would be. I'd see them in Chinatown and stuff like that. There'd be two silver balls that you kind of roll in your hand around, like it's it's relaxing or whatever it is. I don't know
Yeah.
what those balls. They're silver balls. I remember getting some in Chinatown.
Yes, with like
And
the
it's supposed
finger
to-
traps and there's a lot of hand
It's stuff like that. Yeah,
activities.
It's like two. It came with like two metal silver balls.
Mhm,
It's supposed to be relaxing. Make them nuclear.
Not
It's
relaxing.
not so relaxing anymore. Gotcha.
Mm-mm. That's the opposite, I would say. I'm not a doctor
But use the word fingies.
to use the technical term fingies.
That would be our mayor, Chris Hernandez.
Hello.
And then our governor. Where do you think the plutonium comes from? Where do you think it's getting sourced from? Who could possibly get their hands on some nuclear product? I wonder, who could it be? Who would have the power? Yeah, our governor would.
Mm-hmm.
Where does she get it? Good question.
She has her sources.
She has her sources, and there's not enough NDAs around.
Mm-mm. She's everywhere. There's nothing she
Yeah.
can't get. This is easy for
I'm surprised she hasn't sent us one. I'm surprised she hasn't sent us one yet.
I'm surprised she hasn't been offended because she's been doing a lot of overlording in our breaks.
It's coming from two people that use the word fingies.
Yeah,
And
so
butchy,
she
you know, so-
we're not on her radar. She's got
Yeah,
way
we're not
cooler things
serious
to talk
people.
about.
Yeah.
No.
We're not real serious people.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
Well, if you want to get your hands on some plutonium, get your checkbook out, and good luck, because that would be our governor.
Avian Noble.
If you want no ads, no chit chat, bonus episodes, 7 days free. You want to skip over this junk
And you do.
and support us for
Mhm.
$2 lousy.
Yeah.
Head on over to patreon.com/ghosttownpod. You want to get back into it?
Let's do it. Dr. Albert Benke had somehow convinced the San Francisco 49ers to enroll in a dystopic experiment in radioactivity called, a bit more benignly, but also not really, nuclear medicine. Now, radiology is, of course, a common diagnostic tool we use today, but it's a delicate practice. The body needs to absorb just enough of a radioactive isotope of an element, say hydrogen in water or potassium, to literally light it up, giving important information from within, of course, used in medical diagnoses and monitoring. Even back then, radiation doses were very low. According to the lab's Atomic Energy Commission materials licenses, via a very informative Defector article by Chris Roberts about the subject, someone drinking titrated water and receiving injections of radioactive chromium, as Benke proposed for the 49ers, quote, special examinations, might absorb a dose of between 0.01 to 0.2 REM per procedure, just a fraction of what radiations Americans are exposed to annually from their average environments. This is all to say that the treatment that Benke was going to give these football players was not that extreme and kind of an arbitrary measurement, one that who knows would actually get results. On January 10th, 1955, Benke enlisted UC Berkeley's Bill Seary, a collaborator on many of Benke's experiments, to help with the trial run of the experiment with some of the football players. Quote, "We are ready to take on the 49ers anytime at your and their convenience," Seary wrote Benke on January 12th. According to Roberts in his Defector piece, quote, "There were some details to iron out, exactly what Benke wanted measured, how much the lab should offer the 49ers in terms of compensation, but it was clear working with the NFL team was an exciting prospect. Quote, "I sincerely hope you can persuade as many of these men as possible to participate in the program," Seary added. "For our purposes, they are an extremely important group." But then, after this correspondence, the experiment completely fell apart. Or it might have never happened. Or it did happen and was not documented whatsoever, despite an era utilizing lots of forms of documentation. Voice recording, paperwork, many scientists will never really know what happened, or the evidence has been lost to history. Neither Benke nor Siri ever published anything specifically related to the 49ers' participation in this experiment. The DOE noted some, quote, references to professional football players in a few journal articles, which could have been Benke's earlier work on physiology or this particular experiment. Additionally, no final reports ever emerged during a government-wide search specifically looking for the results of this experiment in the early and mid-1990s. Unfortunately, Benke died on January 16, 1992, 2 years before a Department of Energy researcher was trying to gather materials on this subject. They were, however, able to contact Siri in 1994. Siri, 75 at the time, didn't remember anything about the experiment whatsoever. To help remind him, the researcher sent him copies of his 40-year-old letters to Benke. Siri found them, quote, interesting, but still remembered nothing. Quote, it was so long ago and so many studies were done, he said. Then the researcher connected with a man named Ed Alpin, who worked directly under Benke while at the Navy lab. Even better, Alpin was slightly younger, a Guggenheim Fellow, directed U.S. National Laboratory, and held professorships at UC Berkeley and UC San Francisco. He was sure to remember the experiments, right? Well, Alpin, quote, knows the experiments took place because he was in the room when they were done. But also, according to Alpin, the 49ers took their radioactive doses at Siri's lab, but then went to Benke's own lab for, quote, the weighing portions of the experiment, which Alpin was not a part of. Defectors Chris Roberts, who I've mentioned a couple times and did an incredible job researching this subject, has his own theory, that Benke did conduct the experiment, he just didn't like the results. After theoretically learning maybe mind-blowing information from the 49ers, Benke delivered a lecture on nuclear war survival in June of 1958, and doesn't reference them or the experiment at all. This, to me, is telling. In his lecture, he was pessimistic about Americans' chances for success in a nuclear situation, which, again, seems to reflect poorly on the experiment, if it happened at all. According to Roberts, quote, Benke bemoaned how the country's runaway economic success and high standard of living has created a class of idlers, alcoholics, and the chronically ill, all reliant on others. They would be terrible burdens in an attack scenario, in his view, when any atomic survivors would have to seek refuge in underground shelters for long periods of time. They would have to exit and walk long distances to find food and water to sustain them, avoiding or surviving hazards like fallout along the way. To maintain order and morale, they would have to possess a focus bordering on religious zealotry. In fact, about the only group of Americans Benke felt stood a chance in this whole nuclear apocalypse were the self-sufficient, devout, and teetotaling Mormons. As for the rest of us, not only did most Americans lack the physical capabilities for these labors, they didn't give a shit. This is again a quote from Roberts' piece. Despite clear and consistent warnings of looming atomic disaster, a quote, national lethargy and indifference in defense matters has affected the country, with overconfidence, defeatism, and blatant selfishness overriding any survival impetus, he warned. For Roberts and myself, again, it makes it seem like this experiment didn't go the way that Benke wanted, or he would have been reporting those data points versus this diatribe on how Americans would be bad at survival in a post-nuclear fallout. But again, the experiment could happen, could have not happened, or somewhere in between. For some experts, the experiment definitely happened, as they believe the nuclear era of experimentation of the time demonstrates how the San Francisco lab operated pretty outrageously, with its own methods of wanton and reckless experimentation that bordered on irresponsible. Quote, here's a laboratory that acted more like it was searching for things to try rather than being driven by things that made a lot of sense and were worth the risk, said Daniel Hirsch, the retired director of the Program on Environmental and Nuclear Policy at the University of California, Santa Cruz, who has extensively researched the Hunters Point shipyard and the radiation lab located there from, again, 1946 until 1969. At least once, Pentagon officials intervened, stopping the lab from experimenting on more humans. An example of this is the spring of 1959, when the lab requested authorization to expand the scope of one of Benke's tracer studies to 100 people, including, quote, volunteer patients in convalescence at the Oak Knoll Naval Hospital in Oakland. Quote, this bureau cannot recommend approval of the request to use volunteer patients at the U.S. Naval Hospital, Oakland, California, until such time as the commanding officer and director, U.S. Naval Radiological Defense Laboratory, and the commanding officer, U.S. Naval Hospital, Oakland, California, shall jointly submit justification for utilization of volunteer patients, read a July 28, 1959 memo addressed to Navy Secretary William Franke. There is no sign that the lab tried again to work with radiation, and the whole enterprise shut down in 1969, sparing more from being subjected to extraneous experimentation, voluntary or not, including, hopefully, some very lucky, soon-to-be football Hall of Famers.
For 25 years, Brightview Senior Living Associates have been committed to creating a vibrant culture and delivering exceptional services, making Brightview a great place to work and live. If you're looking for a rewarding opportunity to serve your local community and grow, we want you to join our team. Brightview Senior Living is growing and actively seeking vibrant associates to join our community teams, including directors, healthcare, activities, hospitality, and dining. Apply today at careers.brightviewseniorliving.com. Equal employment opportunities. Text BV Jobs to 97211 to apply.